2026 was it's been a long time, was it all the way from January that we are now putting behind us. Now we are hitting to 2026 February, the second of this year. Kenya has been so much colorful with a lot of events and a lot of episodes in January 2026. Remember, this is also one of the final years that also Kenya is also marshalling up to get into politics in 2027. Remember as well, a lot of things have been spoken on our mind. Life and life continues as usual. We have to keep the conversation going, Maze. And we are doing this basically just to promote our very own, just to support the little channel to grow until that moment we are able to open our screen so that we also get to see you and you also get to see us. But in the meantime, we're just going to be making conversation today, being the 1st of February 2026. One of the top expectations in this country is change really going to come 2026, come 2027. Remember, this is also a moment where Kenyans are contemplating on whether to make a prudent or to make a promising government in 2027. Being of the year and being a year that Kenya is also marshalling up, we saw Tanzania did its election last year. We also seen Uganda did its election this year. And a lot of conversation has been taking place on our social media. We have also seen the latest story on the leader of Uganda Defense Forces, that is General Muhoozi, issuing an apology to the U.S. Embassy on what is happening in Uganda. And a lot is also happening in the same runway in Uganda. Bobby Wine, aka the opposition leader, has also been on hiding on what he claims to be an intended abduction after he had escaped an home arrest in Uganda. And also back in Kenya, a lot of us has happened, and we have seen a government trying to make sure 100% the JSS examination to grade 10, transitioning in that. And we saw the government doing a state release statement telling all the senior civil servant officers to assist to make sure that all the children that sat for their exams are also joining schools. And the question is, what are they going to do once they join the schools? Has the government been able to release the capitation for the first term for these children? At the same time, on the same note, we have also seen another controversial stories about the late Raila Odinga on the questions whether he's the one who presidented his will to 72 hours. We also seen the wife to Raila Odinga, the late Raila Odinga, also being honored with a very, very lucrative position as one of the top officials, the ambassadors of Kenya, representing Kenya in their own capacity. A lot is going on in Kenya ahead for 2027. And the biggest question today we are asking ourselves, in spite of the previous years that we have been witnessing a lot of changes, from the Gen Z protest 2024-2025, we have also seen from the bottom-up economy to Hustler Fund to Nyota program. Now we are seeing the Singapore story. Is Kenya really prepared to make sure that it is ready to do its election? Remember, Uganda did it under a closed internet. Internets were shut down. Tanzania did its their elections under another internet shutdown. And Kenya, being one of the neighboring countries to the two countries that did the elections, could that also be foreseen to happen in Kenya come 2027? Those are some of the questions that so many political analysts are asking themselves. In what way or in what stature is the president going to make sure that he takes the lead? Remember also the AKA, the DCP party chairperson, that is Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, also trying to put on his own mask on what is happening in Northeastern, bringing a lot of temperature to the leaders in Northeastern And we have also seen a lot of press release from leaders from the northeastern trying to defend what is happening back in their counties, that is Mandera, Wajir, Garissa, Turkana, Marsabit, of what is happening in their counties. And also we have also seen Wamunyoro also taking it to the IG Kanja himself to question what happened during a church service when the Christians were tear gassed, in spite of children also being there as congregants. Wamunyoro took to IG's office to question what were the investigations for, and if the investigations were done, how far have you gone? And Wamunyoro is still bidding to make sure that Kenyans are also up to date what is happening with the government. And I've just come across some of the conversation that it is believed that there are two identities that are non-partisan to Kenyans, which means they are not Kenyans, that have been visiting State House for quite some time. And it's a question as to why they are doing that. From what I've just gathered, they are also linked to the Uganda elections, and it is believed that the two identities might have been partisan to Venezuela elections, and we know what is happening in Venezuela after the president was, you know what I mean. The president of Venezuela was taken by the United States military officers from his own country. Now the question is Africa really getting it right in terms of leaders? Is Africa really getting it right? When it comes to our governance in Africa, we are also seeing some of the international countries taking partisan to what is happening domestically in our African countries. Uganda not being exceptional from what we have seen, the released statement that was shared after General Muhoozi deleted some of his tweets. And also we have also seen Venezuela. Does it mean that our African leaders are not willing to protect the borders of our continent, irrespective of our 55 countries? And does it mean another neocolonialism or neocolonial strategy is being launched by we have trusted with our country to foresee the future of? We lost him to an anonymous event that we couldn't tell what really happened. Wendy, thank you so much. That is one thing that we are asking ourselves. 2025 gave birth to 2026, and 2026 is here. Now, there's some basic questions Kenyans are still asking, and I've come to watch a lot of clips on social media. People are questioning the authenticity of what really happened, what transpired during the Raila burial and the Raila demise. And we have seen the same happening also to ODM, Orange Democratic Movement, as a lot of division taking place. There is Team Babu Owino, there is Team Edwin Sifuna, there is Team Winnie Odinga, there is also Team Junet, there is also another team, Team Oburu, but from one party and from one coalition, Azimio la Umoja Kenya Alliance. We have also seen the same members who were top supporters of Raila Odinga, some of them going against the 10-point agenda that they did agree that was signed by the sitting SG, that is Mr. Edwin Sifuna. A lot of negotiations are believed to be taking place by the so-called interim chairperson, because I don't think if there were elections that might have been done. But on the same note, Kenya today, as we're speaking right now, the conversation revolves. We have seen the Wamunyoro team, if you like, as Kenyans are putting it on social media, the opposition team. We saw the gesture they showed at the IG's office to question how far has the investigation gone. And just to couple it with that, we've also seen a lot of press conferences done by the chair for DCP, questioning why is the government spending a lot of money that is believed to come from the World Bank to create more empowerment, which in turn looks like loans that Kenyans are expected to be deducted. and a lot us on the same run. I don't go against what the government is doing, but the biggest question is, if the disbursement is done, like I've seen the Nyota program that is now circulating across the 47 counties, where each beneficiary is expected to work with about 22,000 Kenyan shillings, which is done on a disbursement of 25,000, which 3,000 is deducted for mandatory fee that is taken to account, and you are given the 22,000 Kenyan shillings. Ask yourself, is this 22,000 shillings able to sustain anybody to begin a business that is able to generate a profit of 1,000 plus, even in a week or in a month? Some people have their own beliefs and they have their own norms that serikali is doing the much it can. But in spite of that, Kenyans are still asking themselves, like, do we really need this empowerment so much urgently that the government is willing to go to an extent of creating more debt loopholes for it to conduct this empowerment? Remember, we are still having some pending cases from 2025. The killings, these people were to be compensated. That is a business that Kenyans are asking themselves, how far has it gone? We are almost nearing election period. We are almost getting to our ballot 2027. Has the government taken any initiative to make sure that it has done fully compensation to those who are killed, abducted and all that? Now, I did ask a question before that in Africa today, does it mean that we are losing our countries to the West or to the East? And does it mean that our African Union conference does not bear fruit to us? And if it does it really keep us to the margin of making sure that Africa is able to run independently without anybody going against the UN, United Nations? And we can't avoid, we can't ignore, but we have to put things to the perspectives that we are losing it more to foreigners. Just the same way I was looking at some clip where a Kenyan was trying to compare the difference between a white man and a black man, is that a white man comes to Africa, he can be awarded a free cow, can be awarded a free house, can be awarded a free plot of land without anything, and even being issued by a title deed. But the same Africans, when they go to their country, they're expected to fill more papers to validate their presence in that country. And that brings the essence that sometimes Africans, we spend more time in impressing what does not really value to us as Africans. And then we end up complaining that we are not working to the betterment of our continent. Look at the raw materials that we are having in Africa. Our leaders in Africa will be very much happy when these resources get their way out of the continent, where they are taken out of the continent, refined and brought back, meaning they are being replenished. If it is gold, gold is being transported either via air or sea, and then a lot of things are done, brought back. It is very happy. I see so many African leaders are always happy when they do more development out of Africa as to compare to when they do it back home. Because some of them are feeling that the policy at which they are articulating some of this development may not best suit for them to be into these political spheres for some time. And that's why you see some of them feel like when we borrow, we need not to dispense the entire money into totality. We need also to get some shares. That's why you see some of our African countries are as old as 30 years, 50 years, but there are things we do not really put into the space and see that Africa is able to move. Generally, today, Africa, we are full of a lot of conflicts. Some of these conflicts are not far from the people that we know. These are just leaders within Africa that have decided to create some internal conflicts or internal rifts between our community and other countries just to get more power. And I want to basically focus on what happened in Congo last year when we had the conflicts in Congo. Look at what Congo is sitting on. Congo is sitting on raw materials that if that raw materials are able to be refined in that country, then that country will be as far as being rich like any other country. Because uplifting a country to a first class country or from uplifting a country from a third world country to a first class country, it doesn't need a lot of magic. It just needs us to utilize the resources that we have in our own country. Look at what the Burkinabe president Ibrahim Traore is doing in his country. He just resolve and change the policy and say, we get more, you get less. Because the land is ours, the resources are ours, you mine them from our own soil. But when you take them out of our country, you make more profit than we make, which some of our African leaders do not look at it in that direction. They look at it in terms of marginalizing the very subject that they are ruling. And if you basically take your own survey or your own understanding, you'll come to learn that some of these countries that are bordering themselves, you'll find that at one point they have something to benefit. That is why in a given conversation I did ask that, what do we really lose when African leaders decide to come together and say, we want to make this Africa as a continent, one country, one currency, one policy? In that, the same coin a Kenyan citizen is able to use in his country can still make value in another country that is not Kenya. And I was of the thinking that if these African leaders in their AU sitting or in their United Nations sitting decides to come up with the policy and decide to map some of the few countries where they can pitch industries that are able to do refineries to these materials that we are mining locally without taking them out of the country, and we empower them with the little revenue we are generating in Africa, then will it really stop us from making Africa one of the best continents in the world? But that can't happen because we are blindfolded with what is happening in the Western country. And we believe Mzungu is always right. But we are forgetting that every human being has his or her own weakness. We are just like the scenario of Aisha Speed when he came to Kenya or when he came to Africa. He proved a point that Africa is not what they see on TV or what they see on social media. Africa is far-fetched better than what they see. It means that we do not know even the other side of the Western countries because we believe that they are much better off in terms of technology, but we are forgetting in every village there must be a madman, meaning in every better cities, you will still find slums that are too much dilapidated. The status of those slums are not better off to sustain life into existence. And therefore, I put a question to those who are listening to me is that, are you really comfortable with how our African governance is being conducted or is being driven by those into office? And if the answer is, I know it is not better, as a citizen, what are some of the things you can bring on board? Because what matters is the sovereignty of you as the citizen of that country should come number one, should come the first. I know you have been deprived so many privileges in your country as an African soldier because we have migrated from Africa to other countries that are not necessarily our continent, where some of us have become slaves. Some of us have lost hope in those streets that are not African based because they are feeling like life is better outside there. Life is better. Life is better outside there more than it is here in our own continent. We can't run from a problem and then we expect it be solved so that we come back home. No. Just the same way, when you want to know the beauty of a cloth on you, you will go, buy it, identify the cloth, buy it, pay for it, then dress, go to a changing room, see how it looks on you. Then if it's good, you can be able to walk out with it. That is what we are supposed to be doing to our continent, Africa, because we have identified that there are weaknesses, there are, but we are talking far from the gaps. We are not willing to face the gaps and change. The United States, the Ethiopia, the Eritrea, the South Sudan, and the rest. We cannot keep on using countries like China, countries like Dubai, countries like United Kingdom, countries like United States. A top example of where we need our continent to be. Yet we are not doing anything. All the best we have been doing to our continent is to engage into our own internal conflicts and internal indifferences that are always propagated by leaders who are within our own system. And they are depriving us the privilege to join into the sphere of seeing Africa the best. Look at our education system even here in Kenya. Sometimes we wonder, are we really looking at it in terms of creating more certificates to people who graduate, but we are not willing to make the conditions of these schools be able to accommodate the suitability of a learner to be in class? Look at the capitation that is being disbursed to our schools. Sometimes head schools officials, the principals and the head teachers do complain and say the capitations are delaying, the term is almost coming to an end, yet the government is saying let learning continues. Which means some of these African leaders know what they're doing, depriving their citizens the privileges to enjoy. Because when you pay tax, at the end of the day, when you pay tax as a business person, you expect that that same tax should come back in the capacity of electricity. You're being connected to electricity, good roads, security, water, good hospitals, and also betterment, that better lifestyle. Your economy is able to sustain your existence. But that is not the case. What we have is the system that deprives the subjects, which means is a system that makes the subject to grow much poorer, in that when he complains, the only way he gets the solution is through the stomach. The government goes to an extent of facilitating food to feed you for a day, and then you change the story by saying you are the best. But you're forgetting we still have a life to live beyond that one day. We have seen the story that is happening in Mandera. We have seen what is happening in Mandera, Garissa, Wajir, Turkana, and part of Nandi. Kenyans are asking themselves, tunalipa ushuru mwisho wa siku, lakini kulipa kwetu ushuru hatupati vile vitu ambavyo tunataka. Bado tuna mashule ambayo hata madarasa hayapo, walimu wenyewe hawapo, mazingira yenyewe ni mabaya, maji yenyewe hayapo, umeme haipo. Na tukiangalia tu jinsi ambavyo serikali inavyozidi kutumia fedha, tumeona hata kama jinsi ilivyochapishwa katika jarida la The Standard, wakiwa wanasema kwamba kuna pesa zimefujwa, pesa kutoka kwenye SHA, zaidi ya mabilioni ya pesa. Na ukiangalia maisha ya mwananchi ambaye analipa ushuru, na uone kima cha pesa kinachotoka katika akaunti za serikali ikiingia katika akaunti za watu binafsi, utakuja kushangaa ni kwamba kwa sisi wa Kenya tulikosea nani? Haijachukua muda sana. Kwa hivi sasa Wakenya wako katika mjadala ni kwamba tuna serikali ambao hii ni serikali iliyo mwingi wa maono, iliyo na mwingi wa maneno, lakini mchache wa matendo. Kisa na maana, wana uwezo wa kuzungumza mchana kutwa, wanazungumza tu, lakini usiku wanafikiria kitu tofauti. Ndipo sasa hivi tunapokaribia kuingia katika msimu wa uchaguzi, sote kama Wakenya tupo radhi kwa kufanya mabadiliko, lakini mabadiliko haya tutayafanya kweli? Are we able to do these changes? If not, what are we able to do to support our well-being as Kenyans? I don't want to talk about any other country, but I'm much more interested in my country 254 Kenya, which is the home. We are 60 years of no good infrastructure. We are 60 years of no better hospitals. We are 60 years of no better education system. We are 60 years of no better accountability system. We are 60 years of no judicial trust. We are 60 years of no legislature trust. We are 60 years of no police trust. We have 60 years of no constitutional respect. And if you look, our forefathers left us the freedom we are enjoying today. Our leaders that we are having today are going to leave us with the corruption system that we are also enjoying today. But our biggest question as citizens of this country is, what measures can we do immediately? That is one thing I keep on saying, and I will always repeat it as much as I get an opportunity like this, is that election cycles will not make Kenya become a better country in whatever situation. That we are forced to believe that the only way we can change this country is through election system. Because the very election system that we are forced to believe that can make Kenya change, they are the very corrupt system that are not able to give us the things that we want. So I personally don't believe that election cycles of 5 years cannot make us change this country. Rather, what can make us change is to just make sure that we put our policy into actions. If the policy says that every 5 years or after every 2 years, our roads needs to be maintained, let the policy stand out. Not that the policy is there, the money is allocated, disbursement is done, contractors feast on the money, people who are responsible for that construction feast on the money, yet the citizens do not get that better road. So depending on election cycle in this country will only create more tribal war, more bid for people to vie for this elective post, but they will not bring any change. Rather, they are going there to acquire and to attain titles that they will live to be called Mheshimiwa and the rest, Your Excellency, for the rest of their life. Like somebody did say that a politician will not be there to solve your issues, but he will be there to solve his own generational issues. He will go to solve and make sure that he has amassed a lot of wealth that his generation will eat. Even if he dies, his generation will still be eating the same wealth this guy has got. So therefore, we are people that need to develop this country. We can't depend on election cycles. Ati tunategemea uchaguzi baada ya miaka 5 kwamba tunaenda kubadilisha Kenya. Hebu tuangalie 202. Raila alisema Kibaki tosha, election system zikafanywa, watu wakaendelea na Kibaki. Tukakuja 207, the same election yenye tulikuwa tunatarajia we make change after 202 is the same election cycle ilifanya watu wakaenda on election violence 2007 2008. Ikakuja hivyo, we got our constitution 2010, nayo tukapata devolution. So hii devolution tukafanya election in 2013, the first ever county government that were elected under the Kenya constitution 2013. Tukafanya election, tukalialia kwamba the people we have elected are not able to serve us. We gave our hope for 2017, which 2017 didn't work out because the same people in the same system are the people that go against the system and they manipulate to their own benefit. To me, I will say as a patriotic Kenyan that the election system, hii mambo tunaambiwa chukua kura, enda upige kura, sijui nini, it will not change. Kama mentality bado ni ile ile, bado wanashikilia ile ile system, then we forget about anything called change as Kenyans. The only way we can make change to come to a reality is when we believe in our sovereignty, which is our chapter 1 of the Kenyan Constitution 2010, that the power belongs to the people. And we as people are the only ones who can change this country, because we are the ones who know where the shoe is pinching us. We cannot rely on politicians whose families are abroad in a better lifestyle, in a better state. Yet we are forced to go for systems like SHA that some of us do not actually see the essence of being deducted that money or paying for that money monthly. Some of us do not see the essence of paying tax in the same system that is not working for us. So as a nation, we need to call up ourselves, we need to facilitate our own doing, and we need to build our good ways of life so that we also become the better society that we want. Hii mambo ya kutumiwa hapa propaganda ati tumetenga nyinyi, mkitaka kufanya mabadiliko sijui endeni mchukue kura. Okay, people will take kura, watenda wachukue kura, wajisajili kama voters, but they are not sure. It is not guarantee. It is not a guarantee that kwamba tukichukua kura in our masses, twende tupige in our masses, it is not a guarantee that we are going to get that leader that we have honestly, genuinely, and with all our tolerance we have elected. Rather, the system is going to give us people, because we have seen money involved. As some of us say, what money cannot buy, more money can buy it.